All right, all right. With that being said, what is going on, everybody? If you don't know, now you do know. You're officially tuned into a very special edition of the HFWB podcast series. This is your host, Clifton Pope, and like always, this episode of the HFWB podcast series is, of course, being brought to you by goandfeelgreat.com, because when it comes to health, there's usually a gap between where we are, where we want to be. With so many processed foods and modern farming techniques, it can be difficult to find nutrition-rich foods. That's why you need to visit goandfeelgreat.com. That way you can feel great for the long haul and at the same time put ourselves on track towards healthier living, y'all. But with that being said, the guest who I have today on the HFWB podcast series, for those who currently are living in Corpus Christi, Texas, and for those who are listening to this episode who have never been to Corpus Christi, Texas before, let's just say some big things are happening. And for those who live in Corpus Christi, Texas, listening to this particular episode are going to know exactly what I'm talking about. Because I don't know if you're familiar with one, American indoor football, which we're going to get into, which is kind of the new thing now with the spring football leagues and everything, with the United Football League coming out. Spring football is here to stay. That's the theme of this episode, because we have a new football team here in Corpus Christi, Texas, the CC Tritons, the Corpus Christi Tritons, that is. And who better to have on the HFWB podcast series than one of the owners and one of the CEOs of the Corpus Christi Tritons himself. He's just a regular old man from San Antonio, Texas, who from his days at Cooper High School, now all of a sudden being in this position to own the Corpus Christi Tritons. Please welcome Mr. Kevin Cecil to the HFWB podcast series. Kevin, how's it going, my friend?
Good, man. Good. Thank you for having me on here. This is truly a blessing. This is an honor. I'm happy.
No, I'm happy too, man, because I was telling you before we started recording. I mean, I went to one of the home games because I remember when the team was like announced and when the build up and everything. And I want to give a special shout out to my friend Melina, who's been doing a really great job as far as pushing the CC Tritons more than ever. And she's actually the reason why I was even able to volunteer at the previous home game and stuff. And for those who weren't there, let's just say the CC Tritons had the game from under control from start to finish. It was a wonderful showcase. For those who are here in Corpus Christi, Texas, and haven't been, you need to go check out one of their home games. As a matter of fact, they're going to have one this Sunday, and then they're going to have a couple of more down the road. So don't miss out on that, without a doubt. And it's just being there within the atmosphere. It was great to be a part of. I'm not even going to lie about that. But before we get into that, Kevin, kind of give the people kind of like the backstory as far as who you are as an individual and what led to you basically, one, not only wanting to be part of the team that brings arena football here to Corpus Christi, Texas, American indoor football, that is, but at the same time, what made you want to get involved in such a huge project and a huge opportunity like this?
Yeah. So I mean, I'm not just any millionaire, right? That goes into something like this. Usually, people who run an indoor football program, they're wealthy business people, millionaires. So to them, it's just, I guess you can say, chump change in a sense for them just to spend money and write it off in their tax season purposes. For me and my guys, we're primary law enforcement and medical personnel. So coming from the San Antonio gunslinger era, and once ownership changed from there, it was kind of brought to me like, hey, what do you want to do? So, I talked to the guys, really talked to my wife, and I asked her, and I was like, hey, would it be cool to continue this, but do it in Corpus since we have family in Corpus? Now, obviously, doing my homework in Corpus, we all know that the teams in the past they weren't fruitful. They did a lot of over-promising, under-delivering. We get that kind of slack already as it is from a couple sponsors that we had. They're getting upset on certain things, but we tell them like, hey, this is the first year. We're doing everything in our power to not make that be a repeat. However, it's also, in our sponsors' help as well to communicate with us so we know exactly what we're missing, because we don't know. There's a million things that goes on in the arena world. Yeah. Especially when you're bringing a team to fruition and the logistics that go into it. So, I mean, running a team from scratch is anywhere between $500,000 to $800,000. Like that is what it costs. So if a lot of your hard upfront costs is going to be like your helmet, shoulder pads, your field, your dasher pads, if you need dasher walls, stuff like that. Like there's a lot that you're already going to spend up front. So being able to carry it over and being able to to fight tooth and nail to bring it back to Corpus is truly a blessing. We didn't realize it was going to be as hard as we thought, but it is hard. It is still hard. We're still going over obstacles and trying to figure out what we can do different before we get into year 2. So it's a smoother transition, and we have a lot of game plan already, strategic game plan, going into year 2. So we're hoping to take year 2 by a storm, since year 1 is basically our learning curve as we progress into our future.
I love it. And it's definitely a learning experience, especially when you're doing anything in general in year number 1, because it's like you're barely putting together the blueprint and the foundation and everything just to see if it's going to stay afloat on top of that foundation that you're trying to build. It's like, and you kind of touched on it a little bit too. I mean, the startup of just the regular football team, I mean, $500,000 to $800,000. I mean, that's an interesting number just within itself for those who are listening right now who think, I wonder how much it would be to own just an indoor football team or just any arena football team in general. So it's good to know within its sense. Kind of walk me through the process as far as like, okay, we're going to officially make this happen. We're going to bring this inaugural season here to Corpus Christi, Texas. Fast forward to kind of like the first actual game itself. Kind of walk the people who are listening to the HFWB podcast series, kind of like a little bit of the behind the scenes sense of really kind of like how I would say begin with the end in mind, putting it together mentally and then bringing it out into the physical form for those who are wondering.
Yeah, it's a lot of hard work. I mean, this wasn't something we did in 6 months. This literally took us 2 years in the making to do, right? So you're not going to dream on something, and you're not going to sleep on it and expect to have results in 24, 48 hours. When you dream on something, you want results, you got to work for it. So working as hard as we worked, basically doing the footwork, it was just me when I came to Corpus without my guys, because we're all busy. Again, we're law enforcement officers, so our schedules are different. So for the first, few months, it was just me. It was me. I was trying to network. I was trying to shake hands. I was trying to kiss babies. I was trying to get the word out there, knowing that we were already 2 years, from being able to kick off. But there was a lot of criticism. There was a lot of, backfire from. There's a lot of people like, oh, an arena football team, we wish you the best of luck. This is what happened with the previous teams. I hope you really know what you're doing, because we have a lot of bad taste in our mouth, and so on and so forth. And I take all that stuff into consideration as we were progressing. And then, we went from getting somebody to help us on the marketing side of things. We went from one person, Barbie Baker, love her to death. She's such a great, great individual. She helped us. That's how I ended up meeting Melina. I didn't know Melina from Adam, so when I got to talking to Melina, we got to talking for about almost 45 minutes to an hour. And she's like, you know what? I'm all in. Let's do this. Yeah. So then after 6 months of me doing everything that I needed to do, with the help of my director of operations, and we got Melina on board, and then she was basically our foot soldier. She was the voice. I mean, she's got a big following. She's got a big name in the community. So that was helping us. When she would call me, she's like, hey, what are you doing this weekend? I was like, well, I plan on being with the family. Like, what do you need? She's like, I need you to come down because there's an event. I need you to be here. I was like, yes, ma'am. I will be there, So there's a lot of sacrifice that goes into it. I mean, you're going to be away from your family a lot. You're going to have the stressors. It's just part of the, business. There's nothing you can do with that. So once we were able to start getting our front office aspect locked down, then we started meeting with the American Bank Center, and those guys, they've been nothing but great to us. Everybody talks how this new management group that's in, they're real strict. They're hard to work with. They are, but they want what's best for business. They just don't want to bring something in. Again, being affiliated as an arena football team, a lot of people know that arena football comes and goes within a year. However, that only happens if we don't have the financial backing, we don't have the sustainability, we don't have the city support, the arena support, the community support. Everything goes into that factor.
That go into it.
Yeah, a lot of factors go into it. So it was dealing with it. So once we started getting closer, I mean, I'll tell you, I was in doubt, honestly, just the way everything was working. Like, we literally should have had like a documentary series of us on Netflix, the way we were doing everything. I mean, we're not made of money, right? So I mean, we're scrounging, we're getting sponsors, and we're getting investors. There's a lot that goes into making this work, and then the closer we started getting, we started working on our field, we started working on our dasher pads, and then
Yes.
we played Oklahoma Tribe on that Sunday, the first game, March 17th. It was what was it? Spring break, last day of spring break. It was a Sunday,
Yes.
St. Patty's Day, and we packed the house with 1,400 people. Nobody thought that would even be a thing, and we did it. So a lot of the doubters and naysayers that were out there, I'm not gonna call those individuals out. I respect them, but I did see them in attendance. They shook my hand afterwards, like, man, this is great. Like, we've been following your story. We couldn't believe you actually could pull it off. Like, this is awesome. You guys are heavily involved in the community. Like, everything you said that you were going to do, you ended up doing it. You were involved in the community. And that's the big thing with arena football. A lot of people don't know. It's you're involved in the community. The players are out there. Coaches are out there. Ownership's out there. We're all out there. We don't just hide, in the cabinet. We don't do anything. Like, we're out there to do what we need to do as far as showing, hey, this is what we're about. Like, again, I don't know what, the teams did in the past, if they were like that, community oriented. I don't know. I can't speak for them. I wasn't there in that time frame. I was there when they won a championship back then, but I wasn't there in that front office aspect. I wasn't a part of that ownership back then to know exactly what they did. But having, my buddy Hector, my buddy Jason, my other business partner, Jody, Jonathan, that were with the Gunslingers and bringing them over to Corpus, it was a win-win because we kept the family together, and everything we did in San Antonio, we transitioned over to do it in Corpus. So that's what made it easy for us because we already knew the foundation. We already knew what we're getting into. We already know how to tackle it. It was just tackling the bigger obstacles that were in our way to potentially keep us from doing this.
Yes. One thing I got out of everything you just said that just keeps on ringing in my head over and over again, Kevin. Yeah, you had a system in place, and you put that system to use by finding the right personnel to be a part of that system. And then once they believed in the vision as far as what you wanted to bring from San Antonio to Corpus Christi with the CC Tritons, and then, you had your doubters, you have your naysayers who are going to be like, I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if you know what you're doing or what you're getting yourself into. And you even said it yourself. And then fast forward when it all came together within that first game, packing out the whole American Bank Center, which is not easy to do within a first time thing. And then you actually did it, and you had those same people who doubted you and those same people who were those naysayers sitting there like, wow, this really happened. And then it's like you had the idea, Kevin, of basically, in the words of basically Tupac, you were staring at the whole entire vision and the world that you saw within this vision through your rear view mirror. It's like you knew what you wanted to do. You basically just put your mind to it, and you actually did it. And it just turned into this beautiful, beautiful sight to see as far as just something that the city really just needs, which is just one, arena football, and two, more reasons for people to, of course, want to not only come to Corpus Christi, Texas, but stay in Corpus Christi, Texas. And you're overall contributing to the overall growth, because it's like these days it's hard to go anywhere and not hear, hey, CC Tritons are here, CC Tritons are there. It's like, again, that system being in place. So it's like, talk to the people, for those who are listening, Kevin, as far as just the importance of just having that system in place, just to not only make like you're a professional sports team work, but just the business work within itself. Because I don't think people realize how important systems are, just to not only professional sports teams, but to just business and sometimes even life itself.
Oh, yeah. I mean, in the business sake of things, you're going to have a board of directors. Like, I'm the CEO, Jody Alvey, he's the COO, Chief of Operations. You're going to have Hector, who's our team president. We just picked up Robert Reyna from Amarillo to help us out on the business side of things. So he's our vice president. We have our GM, who's Jonathan. We have our director of operations, Jason. We have, Melina as marketing public relations. We have our director of corporate sales, April. We have Michaela, Isabel. It's a whole thing. You have to have people in the place, in the right place to get this well-oiled machine going. And then, of course, you also have to, basically budget your life with your family too, because you're going to be busy. You're going to be on constant. Work life, you got to balance it. Your personal life. I mean, to this day, my phone does not stop, and we're already about 3-4 games in already.
Mm-hmm.
We're basically, we front loaded our home games just because the way the scheduling worked with the arena. So that's just what we had to do. So a lot of our away games are backloaded. So front loading is basically, we have this game coming up Sunday, April. Yeah, it's April 14th. I lost my days in a minute.
You're good.
April
You're good.
14th
You're good.
against Cedar Rapids. And then April 19th, we have Far Phantoms that we're playing for the Military First Responder Night. That's going to be a big night for us.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go away for a few weeks, and then we come back home to finish off our season June 2nd. But the way it's looking right now, the way we're running everything, we're projected to make a championship run. As far as taking the undefeated streak. So, I mean, this is big for us being able to come back, and whether we win the championship or not, it's the simple fact that we made a statement as a first-year team. Now, we would love to win a championship and bring it back home. Absolutely. I'm not doubting that one bit. We have the right coaches in the right spot. We have all these players that are coming to us. I mean, to this day, I have people, adding me as a friend on Facebook, and there are a lot of players, and of course, being a businessman, I'm not going to shy them away or nothing, but I tell them, hey, respectfully, the way we run it, it's not how it was ran back then, where the owners got involved and they would pick up players. It has to go through our player personnel, which is Hector, Jonathan, Coach. And those three, Coach Chavez, Jonathan, Hector, they will talk. And if it works and it was good for business, they'll sign that player to a 2-day contract. They'll bring him in. They'll see what he can do, and if he makes it, he gets on. And it's a revolving door. Players are going to come and go all the way through the season. You're not going to have a standard of set players until year 2, when you know who your returning players are. You already know who your key players are. So there's a lot that goes into the logistics of having your budget, your board of directors, your coaching staff, your medical staff, your players. There's just so much that goes into it. It's not one of those where you can just walk up and be like, hey, I want to do a bar one day, or I want to do a dance hall, and you think you can do that because it's easy, right? Anything you do in the business life is not easy. I'll tell you that right now. I mean, hell, even being a cop is not easy. But you have to learn, adapt, and overcome those obstacles. And that's what we did with the football world. I mean, arena football is big now than it was back then, back in the 90s. It's starting to come back and formulate back again, so it's good.
It's good. It's good to see that spring football is now starting to become a standard, and now it's here to stay more than ever, because it's like, you're right. There was a time where spring football wasn't necessarily the biggest thing in the world, but now it's becoming more and more popular, not only from a local standpoint, look at it from a national standpoint with the whole United Football League, with the XFL and the USFL coming together and saying, why should we compete against each other when we could join forces and we can form a nice little big spring football league? So it's like, that outlook within itself is just incredible, and it kind of sets like the example to what kind of like more people on the local level can do, for instance, with the American Indoor Football League. And you kind of alluded on to kind of like what I was going to ask you next, as far as what can people expect going to a Corpus Christi Tritons game, for those who are listening to the HFWB podcast series who've never been. And at the same time, I kind of have an idea as far as what the overall goal is as far as for the inaugural season, because you kind of alluded to you wanted to bring home that championship, I can imagine, Kevin.
Yeah, so the fan experience is everything. I mean, we're still working out our kinks in the first year to get more fan engagement involved in certain things, but it's exciting. I mean, you get to cheer on these players. The players are going to interact with you. They don't shy away from it. They love the crowd. They love the chants. They love everything about it. When they score, they get excited. The fans get excited. And then after the game, this is the big caveat right here. After the game, you get to go down to the field. You get to, shake hands with the players, take pictures, get autographs, even talk to the coaches. And it's all about having the fan interaction experience. But also it's also on like a networking basis too, because you'll meet potential sponsors for the second year, third year, so many years to come. So it's fun. If you haven't been, you need to go. It's fast paced, high scoring game, big hits. I mean, nothing against Amarillo, but we dropped 34 points on them in the first half, and then they got lucky by coming back in the second half and dropping 50 on us, 42 points in total to make it 50. They shouldn't have got that close the way they did. You learn from it. The coaches learn from it, players learn from it, and they fix it. But I mean, inaugural season, in our first year as an organization, we are 3-0. In the American Indoor Football, we are 2-0. So this Sunday, we have a statement to make to go 3-0. When it comes down to it, God willing, and we go to the championship game, we'll probably end up playing Columbus Lions. They are a well established organization. They have the veteran experience. These guys have been up and running for I want to say almost 10 years, if not longer. I mean, they've been in the when we were with the Gunslingers, we played them and we lost to them by like a point. I think it was like 43-44 or something like that. It was just weird the way the point scale came out, but they are a well contested, veteran, experienced team. They will be one of those that we will probably or more likely end up playing.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you're going to circle them on the calendar. Like, we really need to lock in for this one because of the past. We need to get our get back here against these guys.
Yeah. And then, of course, a lot of people asked about the game ball. So the way it works for the league is we don't mind if the game ball gets given to a fan. Obviously, if it's given to a fan by a player. Now, if the ball gets thrown out of bounds or gets kicked out of bounds, we obviously want that back just because we're limited on so many game balls per season. But we also tell our players too, like, hey, if you want to give a certain fan a game ball, obviously run it over to ownership or equipment manager or somebody, tell them to tag it, put a sticky note on it and be like, hey, I want to give it to this individual or whatever. That way we can go around and give them that ball so we know the exact amount of footballs that we have. Because in the season, we only have 180 balls. So, I mean, we have to have 50 game balls at home on standby, ready to go. And then when we go away, we have to have about 10 or 15 with us when we go away. So there's a lot of accountability when it comes into stuff like that. But of course, when a fan gets a game ball, I mean, that's souvenir. We don't ask for that back. That is yours to keep, courtesy of the organization. You got to go take it to the field and get it signed, get signatures on it, take pictures with the whole gambit, so that's the biggest thing with the fan experience.
Yes, and you touched on it very well. It's just that fan interaction. I remember when the game was over, it was like all the players were literally outside the American Bank Center, just, hanging out, taking pictures, signing autographs, building that relationship with the community, which will, of course, strengthen it, which will, of course, allow the community to spread the word like, hey, we had a great time at the game. We're looking forward to coming back to the next one. And the next thing you know, they tell a couple of people, and then next thing you know, sellout after sellout after sellout after sellout. And I feel like once that formula continues to, of course, grow, I think the sky's the limit, number one. And number two, it's great for, of course, the sport, which, of course, arena football within itself. And it's like, from your overall outlook, as far as being a little hands-on in the overall experience, where do you feel like, as far as the current state of arena football, where do you see it heading in the next 5 years based off of what you see and you being hands-on with it right now currently?
So when we came down, we had like very little money of our own, plus with, help of others to get this going. So we didn't have, a lot of people didn't know about us because we didn't have, marketing on radios. We didn't have marketing on billboards. A lot of ours was interacting with the community, getting the fan base going that way, shaking hands, kissing babies in a sense, letting them know who we are. There's a couple of times where I've been on Chris 6, K3. There's a couple of times I've been on a couple of radio stations, but that was like way in advance, like a year early from when we were actually trying to kick off. So now that we have that, building a foundation from basically scratch to continuously building on to leaving a legacy. I always tell everybody, I'm not here to bring a team for a year and then to leave. My team is here to stay. We're going to stay as long as the city wants us until the city says, no, we don't want you anymore. But building the fan base, building what we have, social media going up, just the fan interactions, people, messaging me in my personal inbox, people calling me and saying, hey, thank you for bringing this back. Like, this wasn't me. I didn't bring this back. My team brought it back. There's no I in team. This isn't an individual effort.
Who I'm working with. Yeah,
it was a team effort. We all did this. We all, from families to the city, to our business partners, to my mentors, it took a team effort to do this, honestly. Because if it was just a one-man show, I wouldn't need, anything in regard to needing the money of financial backing. I wouldn't really care for the city support. I wouldn't really care for this, but that's not the case. I needed everything. I needed the city support. I needed the community support. I needed my business partners. I needed, it just goes into everything. Like you have to have everything to make this thing work, and that's what we did. We made it work, and we're here to stay. We're not here to leave. We're here to stay.
I love it. Simple message for those who are listening to the HFWB podcast series. If you thought that the Corpus Christi Tritons were just going to be a flash in the pan, you're very, very sadly mistaken, because as Kevin has been explaining in this whole entire episode, this has been in the making for a couple of years now, and we're not just going to go away after putting this together within a couple of years. We're here to stay, and we're going to make a difference, and we're going to be here as long as the city of Corpus Christi allows us to do that. And I have a feeling, based off of everything that I'm seeing and everything that I'm always hearing in the community about it, I don't think it's going to be anytime soon, which is why, for those who are listening to this particular episode of the HFWB podcast series, you need to go check out a CC Tritons game while you can, because they're going to be hitting the road here in a little bit. As a matter of fact, by the time this episode comes out, they probably going to be on the road.
Yeah, we'll actually be in Amarillo. We'll be in Amarillo that day.
Yeah, you're gonna be missing out on your chance to go check out their games, man. So you got to come check it out whenever they return back home. What was it, June the 2nd? You said, Kevin?
June 2nd will be our last home game. Right now, obviously this is going to get aired later on down the road, but for the next 2 games after this game, we actually have a BOGO, buy one get one. So tickets are on sale.
Yes.
We want to pack the house. I mean, word of mouth. They got to tell people, and then we're looking into year 2 on what we can do better. How can we better ourselves as an organization to make sure that all of our eggs are in the right basket, not in the wrong basket, so we don't have any hiccups. Like, we're dealing with a lot of technical errors, and those technical errors are getting smoothed out. And it's not just on one party; it's on both parties. I mean, there's for being a first year organization coming back after so many years, it's a lot of learning for us as well as the American Bank Center. But I mean, with us, both of us in constant communication and working things out, it's working for the better. It really is. I mean, we're going to have kinks regardless. This is the first year where you want to get all those kinks out as fast as possible. Mm-hmm. And then when you go into year 2, you want to do just a few production checks, sound checks, and make sure everything is good to go. And that way, when we start live streaming our games into year 2 and doing that stuff, there is no production issues on anybody's end, whether that's on my end for the organization or on the arena's end with their organization. It's a well-oiled machine moving forward.
I love it. I love it. Now, Kevin, we're actually at the point where I'm going to ask you a list of questions that basically I ask everybody who comes on the podcast. That way they can get to know you a little bit better without a doubt. First question is simple. What's the first thing you do or think of every single day that you wake up?
First thing that I do or think of when I wake up, man, it's how am I going to start my day? Basically, like, how am I going to start my day? What is there that I need to tackle?
Get into
whether
that
list. Whether that's doing stuff around the house or something for the business, getting something done before I actually take off and go to work.
I hear that. Now, with health, fitness, wealth, business, I always like to say health is wealth, because you can't have one without the other. They're basically 2 sides of the coin type of thing. In your eyes, Kevin, what does health and wealth mean to you?
Well, health and wealth means a lot. I mean, being thrown through a lot of stressors with this business, plus being a law enforcement officer, you have to balance both equally. You can't overbalance or counterbalance one or the other. You start doing that, you're going to feel, sluggish. You're going to feel tired. You're going to feel unmotivated. You don't want to do anything. You'll just take your anger out on people when there's no need for it, just because you're off balanced. You're not balanced where you need to be physically, mentally, and spiritually. So there's a lot that goes into it.
In your eyes, Kevin, what do you feel like makes a great leader?
Great leader, you got to lead. You got to lead by example. When you mess up, and you messed up, you have to take that accountability on your mess ups, right? You're like, hey, I messed up. My bad. I didn't know I did this.
Right.
I'm going to fix it. I'm going to learn from it, and I'm going to move forward. So I tell everybody, from all this, I take the losses and I turn them into lessons, and I move on from them, and I make sure we don't make those same mistakes again as we move forward.
Exactly. And that's as simple and straightforward as you can get with that. And as we transition, Kevin, now to a segment called Either Or, which I'll ask you which one you would pick out of either or without a doubt. My first one is this: what would you choose out of loyalty or respect?
Man, that's a good one. That's a good one. I
Because they
would.
go hand in hand in a way.
They do go hand in hand. I think I would have to go with respect because if you get the respect and you show respect, you maintain that loyalty, and you get that loyalty from your family, your fan base, from your business partners, anybody that you encounter on a day to day basis. You again working in a jail setting. Before I went out to the streets, it was all about the respect. How do you treat others? You want to treat others the way you want to be treated. So I base it off of that, and then from there the loyalty comes after that.
I hear you. I hear you. Would you rather live in space or live in the ocean?
Well, I mean, we're the Tritons, so I got to take the ocean on that one.
I hear you. Would you rather be famous and poor or anonymous and rich?
I'd rather be anonymous and rich, man. There's a lot of people that don't know what I'm doing. There's only a few that do know. I'm not one to boast what I do. You can be famous and poor. You can be anonymous and rich. It's just all about how you carry yourself. I mean, just look at Adam Sandler, right? He's the
Mm,
most
great
wealthiest
example.
man that
Great
can be,
point.
and look at the way he dresses, right? He
Yes.
dresses like he's a slum, like he's a homeless guy, but he's not, right?
Yeah,
But
he's
that's
worth
just
$400 million,
exactly
if
that's
not
just a
more.
character thing. Yeah, that's just a character thing, right? And that's how I see it as, I want to be able to be anonymous but be wealthy and not be the chauvinistic type of, oh, this is who I am, I make money, you're going to bow down to me type of nonsense. No, I'm not like that. There's too
Yeah,
much of that in this world, and that doesn't get you anywhere. You have to be truly humble with what you have, and that's just where I am. We're truly humbled,
yeah,
and honored with what we have moving forward.
yeah. More humility, less pride, and at the same time, just hey, that's all there is to it when it comes to that. I could agree with that. Would you rather have unlimited free meals at your favorite restaurant or unlimited first class tickets?
Well, I mean, I like food, so I would have to go with free meals. I'm not one to really travel in on airplanes. I usually drive everywhere I go.
Hmm,
Uh,
that's
but
fair.
yeah, I mean, food is my thing. I like to eat, so
I hear you. I hear you. Would you rather dance to every song, Kevin, or sing to every song?
well, I can't sing or dance, so I mean that's kind of hard. If I had to choose one or the other, I would try to coordinate myself in dancing. I would have to say.
I appreciate the honesty for sure. Now, picture this scenario, Kevin, right? You're on an island, you're trapped on this island, but you have an option to listen to five of your favorite music artists. It doesn't matter the genre of music, it could be their whole entire catalog of music. Who would those five artists be?
Man, I don't know. I don't know.
If you
it's
have
it's
to pick five.
so I would go. I don't want to be judged by anybody when I say these because everybody's like, "What? This guy knows these kind of music or these kind of songs." But
No,
I would
you're
say,
fine on that, Kevin.
I would say, if we had to go country, I would do Cody Johnson,
Okay.
John Party. If we do rock, it's alternative rock. So I mean, I can go. I don't know. We can go like Slipknot. We can go Disturbed. If we have to do, I know you only said five. We do rap or hip hop. I got to go with Nipsey Hussle.
Mm,
Um, you got Pop Smoke.
I
It
love it.
just depends. I mean, it really depends. I mean, you want to go with like the grungy type stuff. You got like the Suicide Boys. It just really depends, man. It just really depends on what I would be into. But
No,
it's just
that's not bad. I mean, we're all. I'm personally the kind of guy who listens to variety of music. It's like there's days where I feel like listening to some old school R&B. There's days where I feel like listening to old school hip hop. There's days where I feel like listening to some Jimi Hendrix or Bob Marley or some AC/DC. I mean, my music is all over the place. There's days where I may want to kick back and listen to some Boney James, some nice relaxing jazz music. I mean,
mhm.
you could go hand in hand as far as your different tastes of music, without a doubt, Kevin. So I can definitely agree with you on that. Now, you do mention that you are a big person as far as food and you love to eat. What is your favorite go-to meal, Kevin?
Man. Uh, I got two. I got two. I'm a little fat kid when it comes to food. I like Mexican, authentic Mexican food, and I like Chinese food, authentic Chinese food.
Mm. And those are not bad choices at all. No bad choices at all. I know you said you're not big on traveling, Kevin, but where is the favorite place that you have traveled to thus far? And where's a place you would like to travel to that you have never been to before?
So the favorite place that I've traveled this far, man, it's hard because I don't really get out much. But when I was younger, we I traveled to New York City. That was pretty cool. The Big
Mm,
Apple, seeing that. Where I would like to go would be, take the family like to Bahamas, just enjoy a nice vacation,
mm.
or Bora Bora, something like that, something nice that it's not one of those where you can just drive to. You actually have to fly to or take a boat to, something in that factor.
Got you. Now you're a busy gentleman, Kevin, without a doubt. But when you're not doing all the things you're doing on a regular basis, what are some of your favorite hobbies that you like to do that many people may not know you like to do?
So I like to spend as much time with my family as much as possible, being as
Uh-huh.
busy as I am. And then secondly, I like to work out. I do have a garage gym here at the house. It's nice. And I also have a gym membership. So I'm trying to get back into that physical fitness aspect that I was before I did the team stuff 2 years ago. Um,
Mm,
so so that way, again, it comes back to balancing your health and wealth, right?
yeah.
It's a
I was
lot
just
that
about to say,
happens.
you just took the words out, the thoughts right out of my head, Kevin. It's like, again, health is wealth. I mean, you can chase after your career, you can chase after the money, you can chase after the security and all that, but none of that's going to mean a thing if your health isn't right at the end of the day.
Mhm.
And that's what I tell all of my personal training clients all the time is that, hey, generational health is a real thing. Breaking those pre-existing health condition generational curses that may have been with your dad or your grandfather or mom or grandmother, just because, for instance, they had like a history of just diabetes, for example, doesn't mean you have to be the next person. You could break that generational curse and reverse that and rise above it to where you can create generational health without a doubt. That's something I stress all the time with health, fitness, wealth, business, without a doubt. But my last question, Kevin, as we wrap everything up. Now, picture an opportunity, right? You have the opportunity to go back in time and talk to yourself, say, 10 years ago. What would you tell yourself? And at the same time, Kevin, based on your current journey, where you are right now and going forward, where would you see yourself in the next 10 years?
So going back 10 years and talking to myself and seeing, the opportunity where I'm at now, I would have never thought of that 10 years ago. I would never have seen myself 10 years ago being an owner of an arena football team. It's just one of
Mm,
those things that it just doesn't happen. I'm one of those kind of go with the flow type of situation, but I also
right.
like to do something that's going to be challenging like this was. 10 years from now, I'll be hopefully retired from law enforcement. I'll be still with the team. The organization will still be up and running. It'll be a fruitful organization moving forward, and just enjoy life. Honestly, enjoy life. I mean, for all the hard work that we've worked towards from the very beginning to now, and to continue doing it, it's enjoy life. Life is too short. I mean,
I love
it,
it.
it's like that saying goes in that Kojo song. Chase your dreams because your dreams don't chase you back. If you have a dream, you got to go for it. You know
Mm,
what I mean? So
I
it's
love that.
you got to tackle what you want. You got to
Ah,
tackle. You got to be hungry. You got to be passionate. You got to be humble. It's you can't be like a head honcho and expect results when you can't get results for yourself. You have to work
mm.
towards it. So
That whole part you just said, Kevin, that needs to be rewinded and put on repeat for anybody who needs inspiration. And for those who are listening to this episode of the HFWB podcast series, they need to do exactly that because it's like, it's true. I mean, if you want something, it's not going to come to you automatically. You got to go out and get it. It's like you having these dreams and you want to chase them and you got to keep on chasing them because they're not going to chase you back. You got to go out after it. And that is just very, very important. That needs to be stressed upon more than ever, as far as with just not only just in this community, but just all across the world within itself. We need that message more than ever. But yes, Kevin, tell the people who are listening how can they get in contact with you? How can they, of course, get in contact with everything Corpus Christi Tritons? And yeah, just let people know what's to come.
yeah, I mean, they can get in contact with me through my Facebook. page, my personal page, my profile. As far as the team goes, we have a Corpus Christi Tritons profile page that we started, and then we transitioned over to an actual Tritons Arena football page, and that's where we do most of our team listings, updates, news. We have Instagram, we have TikTok, we have Twitter. So there's a plethora of ways of getting on the team aspect of things. If somebody wants to like reach out to me personally, they can reach out by going to our team email, frontoffice@tritonsfootball.com, and they can send an email out there. And then, or they can message me on Facebook. I'll answer my messages. I obviously expect a delayed response because I'm very busy now than I was before. But, moving forward, we're here to stay. We're not going anywhere. I mean, with all the uphill battles that we've been fighting, with all the naysayers and the haters, but where we've built and where we're at now and progressing forward for the better. A lot of people even ask, like, are you guys going to be here next season? Absolutely. I look them in their face, eye to eye. I tell them, absolutely, we are. We're not going anywhere. There's no way I'm gonna drop almost $500,000, if not more, to walk away from something after a year. That just makes no sense. That puts me in a whole situation. I mean, look at it this way. If you're not in the arena world and you haven't been and you're trying to do something that I'm doing, believe it or not, as soon as you step foot in that door, everybody starts watching the newbie, the new guy. My name has a lot of headway in the arena world, as well as Jason, Hecker, Jonathan, Jody. Our coaches, they all have championship rings. They've played, they've coached. We have opportunities to get players to the next level if they can't make it work for us, So there's a lot going. And then, for us being projected, after the first couple of games as a top 10 in the arena indoor football world, that speaks volume. I mean,
Yep.
we're all about the passion. You have to be passionate about it. You also have to look at the business side of it. And then you got to understand which is more of your insight. Are you more passionate or are you more business minded, or can you do both? If you can do both, you'll keep something forever and you'll stay with it. If you're one or the other, it makes the business side or the passionate side hard, because if you're a business side, you're only in it for the revenue, the equity, and then you bounce, you move on, and you don't want to be there anymore because you've got what you want out of it. And that's not us. We're passionate about it. We see the business side of it. We see the positivity of it. Everybody's excited. I mean, I just did two, random blessings of a youth football program. So, the April 14th game, we're going to have Toulouse Midway Youth Football League up there to be in attendance, about 20 kids. And then we're going to have Odom Youth Football Association, about 20 kids in attendance. And then I also did about 10 or 15 tickets to an elementary school for their charity donation, as they requested. So there's a lot that we want to do to be a part of the community and have the community engagement, so we have that support and love in return as we do for them. There's just so much that goes into it, and we're happy. Overall, we're happy. We're not stopping. We're still moving forward. We're still pushing. We have a lot of work that needs to be done moving forward, especially if we're looking at new things for year two. A lot of new things for year two, a lot of exciting things for year two. I think the biggest thing is going to be what we're playing on now is potentially a new field. And I've already looked at the concept of what that's going to look like, and I'm pretty excited. I'm happy. If we can get that by year two, it's a done deal.
If you learned anything from listening to this particular episode of the HFWB podcast series, don't let the doubters, don't let the naysayers, the non-believers, the underachievers stop you from chasing what you're passionate about, and at the same time handling your business while doing so, because you'd be surprised on what you could accomplish by balancing out the passion aspect and the business aspect, just like Kevin said, because you'll get something that will last forever. So for those who are needing words of wisdom in regards to getting yourself on track with just your entrepreneur business journey, just remember that. Balance out your business and your passion, and you can make something that will last forever. Kevin, I just thank you so much for just taking time out of your busy schedule to simply bless us with an appearance on the HFWB podcast series. This is one for the books, Kevin, I'm telling you.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you, man. Thank you for having me on. I hope to see you Sunday. I hope to see Omar there, the guys that we had this last game to help us out again. That was greatly appreciated. That's going to be for everything moving forward, getting the volunteers to help and get that experience and be a part of it. So we're making history.
And if you haven't volunteered yet, you should, for those who are listening, because it's a great experience. You heard it here first from yours truly on the HFWB podcast series. And with that being said, I thank you again, Kevin, and for everyone listening. This is yours truly, Clifton Pope of the HFWB podcast series, being sponsored by goandfeelgreat.com. Y'all stay healthy, wealthy, and blessed. Peace, love, and positive vibrations, y'all.